So we're going to start drawing our first grid drawing. And we have our viewfinder that we made, or I've given you in class. But we're going to start out by first numbering our grids for reference. It's really helpful. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to do the same thing over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see these are different size squares. We're going to do an enlargement of this drawing. So the first thing I'm going to start with is I like to color in the squares that I don't have to draw anything in. So I kind of go square by square and look at all the squares that have lines in it that I would draw for Piglet. And then if it has nothing, I'm going to shade it in. So here. And I'm going to next do the same thing. This has some in it, so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. So I have to do 1, 2, and 3 in the first 2, 3. And then I'm going to do 4, 5, 6 in the last column. Got in there a little. All right. So I'm going to start drawing. I'm actually going to start in the first grid that has some lines in it. I'm going to put my viewfinder over the grid. Just like that. Now, a key here is we want to look at negative space, so the areas around the actual object we're trying to draw, or the shape. We also want to look at where on our grid, where the line enters or exits that side. So you can see here, if this is about center, it's a little right from center. So I'm going to come over to that same square, my number 2, 1, and I'm going to say if this is center, little to the right. So I'm going to come in around. If this is center, it's a little above center. So I can just going to make some little dots, some little guidelines. And then if we look, this is going to go a little bit of a curve and a curve over to that. So I think it's about here that I want to do that too. So I'm going to draw this line. And key is to draw light, so if you have to erase, it's not that big of an issue. So I'm going to move mine over. What do I have next? Kind of goes to about center, doesn't it look like that? So I'm going to continue this line down to about center. Then I'm going to move my grid over again. This looks like a shark fin. So in this last grid, this is about from center, and it comes almost all the way up to about here. And it exits right in that corner. I'm going to come up. It's a little bit of a curve. And there is no rushing this. So I have my first 3 squares done. So just want to show you one more area before I stop here, and I'm going to put a time lapse of me doing this. I want to show you a little bit more of a complicated area to see how we break down all these lines. So this is column 2, 4. So 2, 4. So it's right there. I'm just going to put a little dot so I know. So what am I going to do first? Well, I'm going to start with this kind of, I think it's the bottom of his chin. I'm going to come, and it's about that center. It's a little to the right, and it exits. If this is about center, it's a little lower than center. So a little bit of a curve. Seems like there's a straight line that comes down here, and then there's this kind of curved line that attaches to the jaw over to the side. This must be the top of his arm, and it's almost over out of the grid and down to about little right of center. Actually, I think it's a little bit bigger, so I'm going to erase that and just make it a little bit more to center. Then there's diagonal here, and then a nice curve out there. So you can break down these squares that have a lot just into different angles, and where it exits and maybe enters the grid. Now, you can watch my time lapse of me finishing this and get started on your own.